Chapter 740, The Three Secret Skills of the Ancient God Clan. Chapter 740, The Three Secret Skills of the Ancient God Clan. 2-star Ancient God? Jian Wushuang wore a wry smile. He had just awakened the bloodline and become a 1-star Ancient God, so he was far from being a 2-star Ancient God. Little Ing. Elder Yi addressed Granny Ing. Granny Ing was a highly respected Ancient God in the 8th tribe, but in front of Elder Yi she became Little Ing. Obviously, Elder Yi had lived longer than Granny Ing. You brought the boy here for the 3 secret skills, right? Elder Yi asked. Granny Ing nodded, saying, That's right. The 3 secret skills are the greatest foundation for our clan. Jian Wushuang, go and do some good cultivation, Elder Yi responded while waving his hand. Then the gate of the Black Pavilion opened. Jian Wushuang, go for it, Granny Ing said. Jian Wushuang walked inside without hesitation. Inside there was an open space with 3 stone tablets in the center. Each of the stone tablets was 30 feet tall, black, and made from some special ore. Many small, tightly packed characters were carved on them. Each of the stone tablets had a secret skill recorded onto them. Jian Wushuang went over to the first stone tablet engraved with the Scarlet Eye secret skill. The Scarlet Eye secret skill helps you see through reality and illusions. If someone reaches its limit, everything will be exposed to him under the Scarlet Eye. Jian Wushuang was shocked by its brief introduction. See through reality and illusions. Everything will be exposed to him under the Scarlet Eye. This was a great secret skill. Jian Wushuang continued and looked at the second secret skill. The 3 secret skills were Scarlet Eye, Star River, and mind controlling. The Scarlet Eye secret skill was rare. The last 2 secret skills were used for attacking. He had mastered the first 3 levels of the Star River secret skill, and improved his offensive power by 9 times. He had only seen the manuals of the first 11 levels of the Star River secret skill when he was in the 8th tribe. But now, faced with the complete manual of the Star River secret skill, Jian Wushuang was rocked. 34 levels? Jian Wushuang widened his eyes, staring at the second stone tablet. The Star River secret skill actually had 34 levels. What he had seen in the 8th tribe was less than 1/3 of the complete secret skill. Each level of the Star River secret skill is able to improve my offensive power by 3 times. Now I've just reached level 3, so my offensive power became 9 times greater than before. If I reach level 11, my offensive power will improve by 33 times. However, level 11 is not the limit. If I reach level 34, my offensive power will gain a 100-fold increase. 100-fold increase. 100-fold offensive power. The secret skills in the Firmament territory often helped improve offensive power by 10 times at the most. For human warriors, 10 times was their limit. When he saw the first 11 levels of the Star River secret skill, Jian Wushuang was totally stupefied. And now he was even more shocked. It can actually help me obtain a 100-fold offensive power. This? Jian Wushuang was at a loss for words. Aided by the secret skill, the Firmament territory experts were only able to improve their offensive power by, at most, 10 times, while the ancient gods could get a 100-fold power increase if they reached the peak of the Star River secret skill. Powerful. Terrifying. This was the formidable ancient god clan. The mind-controlling secret skill was targeted at the opponent's consciousness and soul. If someone reached the elementary level, he was capable of attacking one's consciousness. Oh. Clansmen who have awakened the demon god bloodline are qualified to practice the 3 secret skills. The better bloodline a demon god possesses, the higher level he will reach. I'm a gold-armored ancient god and have a part of the imperial bloodline, so I'm able to cultivate it. But I don't know how far I can go, Jian Wushuang murmured. Then he sat down with his legs crossed as he started to meditate on the Scarlet Eye secret skill, which helps see through reality and illusions. Oh! As Jian Wushuang was meditating on the secret skill, Granny Ing was still standing outside with respect. Each of our 3 secret skills is profound. Although the boy has a part of the imperial bloodline, it's impossible for him to master all of them in a short period of time. Little Ing, there's no need to wait here. Go back to the tribe. And remember, don't talk to anyone about the boy's imperial bloodline and our clan's secret. Okay. Granny Ying nodded and then left. Elder Yi sat cross-legged in front of the black pavilion. The boy has a part of the imperial bloodline, so it's easy for him to master the River Star secret skill. But to practice the last two skills requires a superior understanding. I wonder how long he will meet the requirement for the two skills, Elder Yi said quietly. Then he closed his eyes. Chapter 741 Dedicated Meditation. Chapter 741 Dedicated Meditation. Jian Wushuang was quietly meditating on the secret skill in front of the 3 stone tablets. The Star River secret skill consisted of 34 levels. It was easy to reach the elementary levels. Even the clansmen who had not awakened the bloodline were able to master level 1 or level 2. However, the further they went, the harder it became. In the entire clan, few had been able to reach level 20. As for the Scarlet Eye secret skill and the mind-controlling secret skill, it was difficult for the ancient gods to meet the requirements. Some powerful clansmen, and even some gold-armored ancient gods, would spend 10 years or even 100 years meditating on the two skills if they wanted to reach level 1. Jian Wushuang possessed the imperial bloodline. If he had remained a skyscraping realm expert who had the highest understanding, it would have been easier for him to meditate on the two skills, but now he was a divine realm expert whose understanding was weaker. It took him 5 years to start getting the hang of the Scarlet Eye secret skill. Then he spent 8 years reaching the elementary levels of the mind-controlling secret skill. And as for the Star River secret skill, it only took him half a month to master level 10. In the Ancient God clan, 1-star ancient gods were only able to reach level 10 of the Star River secret skill. After keeping the 3 secret skills manuals in his mind, Jian Wushuang decided to leave. Jian Wushuang. The moment he stepped out of the black pavilion, Jian Wushuang immediately saw Elder Yi sitting on the ground. Elder Yi. Jian Wushuang bowed to the elder. How's it going with the 3 secret skills? Elder Yi asked. Not bad. I've reached level 10 of the Star River secret skill and elementary levels of the other 2 skills, Jian Wushuang replied honestly. What? So fast? Elder Yi was astonished but soon calmed himself. Then he said with a smile, You're worthy of possessing the imperial bloodline. Your understanding is excellent. Upon hearing this, Jian Wushuang smiled. But actually he was not satisfied with his achievements. His talents in comprehension became weaker than before after he reached the deification realm. If he had been in the skyscraping realm, he would have only spent 3 years on the 2 last secret skills. As for how to use the 3 skills, you can ask some ancient gods in the ancient god palace. They'll help you, Elder Yi added. Okay. Jian Wushuang nodded. He had planned to stay in the ancient god palace. I have lived in the eternal zone for more than 90 years. In 7 years this zone will open again, then I'll leave for the firmament territory. So, I can stay in the ancient god palace to enhance my strength until then. Jian Wushuang made up his mind. He would live in the ancient god palace for 7 years. There were numerous powerful clansmen in the ancient god palace. Although Jian Wushuang was unable to fight against them, he was raring to go. The clansmen of the ancient god clan were born militant, as was Jian Wushuang. Therefore, Jian Wushuang started to challenge his clansmen. Oh, time flew by in the eternal zone. During that period of time, he had fought many clansmen in the ancient god palace. Although he rarely won the fights, Jian Wushuang had never lost heart and kept challenging more clansmen. He also gained a lot from his abject failures. 7 years passed by. On the top floor of a towering pagoda, Jian Wushuang quietly sat cross-legged under an ancient copper bell, with his eyes closed and a faint smile on his face. He suddenly shook, and a surge of overwhelming aura radiated out. Star River secret skill. Level 11 is complete. Jian Wushuang opened his eyes, which shone with excitement. He had reached level 10 7 years ago, and improved his offensive power by 30 times. He had been practicing the Star River secret skill over the past 7 years. Now, he finally made it to level 11 and gained another threefold increase. The Star River secret skill was restricted to Ancient God's realm. When Jian Wushuang was a skyscraping realm expert before he had awakened his bloodline, he was capable of mastering the first 3 levels of this skill. As for his clansmen, who had not become 1-star ancient gods, they could reach level 3 at the most. Level 10 of the Star River secret skill would be the limit for the 1-star ancient gods. The strongest 1-star ancient gods, even the gold-armored ancient gods, could only reach level 10. No one had made it to level 11. However, Jian Wushuang succeeded. This was the particularity of the deification realm. His strength was limitless in that realm. Therefore, he was able to reach level 11. He would progress to level 12 or 13 as he had great potential. Jian Wushuang. A bold voice was heard before a bald man glided in from afar. Jian Wushuang addressed him. Gu Heng. The bald man was named Gu Heng, who was a powerful 2-star ancient god. Although he was a silver-armored ancient god, few gold-armored ancient gods could match him. Jian Wushuang had sparred with him more than once, but he had suffered a crushing defeat every time. Time is up. Eldery asked me to tell you that the outsiders are about to arrive, Gu Heng said. Finally, it's time for me to show up. Jian Wushuang raised his head, his eyes shining with killing intent. Chapter 742 100 Years Arrives. Chapter 742. 100 Years Arrives. Elder E. Jian Wushuang bowed to the elder in front of the black pavilion. Elder E looked at the boy with a faint smile while asking, "Are you ready to fight the outsiders?" "Yes, I am." Jian Wushuang nodded. "Although they don't have much strength, they have superb skills. You should go to fight them, but you have to be careful because the outsiders are interested in our essence blood, so it will be an all-out fight if you do encounter them." "Okay." Jian Wushuang nodded again. "As a militant warrior, you have experienced such fights many times before, so I won't need to remind you more about it. Here's something for you." Elder E waved his hand and threw a wilted yellow leaf to the boy. Jian Wushuang received it, and immediately felt the terrifying power contained within it. "Elder E, what is it?" Jian Wushuang asked with a confused look. "This leaf can save your life. Your imperial bloodline is important to us, so I don't dare to risk your life." Elder E responded with a faint smile. "This leaf contains my finger power. If you're in danger, just tear it." "Thank you, Elder E." Jian Wushuang expressed his appreciation with a flicker of delight in his heart. It was clear to him that Elder E was really a 3-star ancient god, even superior to a human Dao master, so the power of his finger would be a brilliant weapon. "I've ordered Gu Heng to go with you. If you have any problem, just ask him." Elder E waved his hand. Jian Wushuang nodded and then left. Gu Heng had been waiting outside of the ancient god palace. Seeing Jian Wushuang approaching, Gu Heng stepped forward and said with a smile, "Jian Wushuang, we'll work together this time." Jian Wushuang smiled and asked, "Gu Heng, have you fought an outsider?" "Of course I have," Gu Heng replied. "The outsiders invade our homeland every 100 years, so our clan arranges some clansmen to fight them. Aside from ordinary 2-star ancient gods from the 10 big tribes, our clan sometimes dispatches 1 or 2 clansmen from the ancient god palace. I have fought the outsiders 3 times, so this is my 4th crusade." "Oh really?" Jian Wushuang understood. "Right, you haven't brawled with the outsides, have you? Their strength is poor, but they have amazing skills." Gu Heng started to talk about the outsiders. Jian Wushuang listened attentively, but he felt inwardly aggrieved. Because after all, he also came from the outside world and could be regarded as an outsider. Therefore, he had a better understanding of the skills of the human experts than Gu Heng did. Shortly after, they arrived at the Great Mountains, which stretched out for thousands of miles. They were called the Tianqi Mountains. Due to their years of experience, the clansmen from the ancient god clan knew that the outsiders would appear at any corner of the mountains, so they waited there. Hundreds of 2-star ancient gods were standing close by in the void. They all came from the 10 tribes. Aside from a few powerful ones, most of them were mediocre. Gu Xiu, who had saved Jian Wushuang once, was considered the strongest among the group of 2-star ancient gods. At this point, they gathered in 2s and 3s and were chatting with each other. "I heard that the ancient god palace will send someone here. As we all know, only gold-armored ancient gods or real supreme clansmen are qualified to enter the ancient god palace, So every one of them is far superior to us. I wonder which one will come here. The two-star ancient gods were looking forward to it. The ancient god clan paid more attention to strength and bloodline. Many clansmen dreamed of having access to the ancient god palace. At this point, two figures glided over from afar. Finally, two masters are coming. The two-star ancient gods widened their eyes. Oh! Those two figures quickly appeared in front of them. The two-star ancient gods were a bit surprised when they saw the bald man. Gu Heng, Master Gu Heng. Wow, Master Gu Heng came here. Gu Heng will personally fight the outsiders. Do they have any chance to survive? The two-star ancient gods obviously knew about Gu Heng's strength, so they were shocked. However, the moment they noticed the young man beside Gu Heng, they all wore odd expressions on their faces. 1 star. A 1-star ancient god? Are you kidding me? He definitely came to the wrong place. A 1-star ancient god should go to the outer layer and fight with those so-called divine realm experts. Upon hearing this, Jian Wushuang gave them a wry smile, as he had foreseen that they would have such a reaction. After all, he was only a 1-star ancient god. Even though he came from the ancient god palace, his level did not convince them. Jian Wushuang, it seems that you'll have to prove yourself, Gu Heng teased him. Jian Wushuang shrugged his shoulders with resignation. Okay, listen up, this is Jian Wushuang. Although he is just a 1-star ancient god, his strength is far superior to most of ours. Gu Heng introduced him in a resonant voice. As for this fight with the outsiders, we will be your commanders, so you have to follow our orders over the next 10 days, understand? Understood, chorused the 2-star ancient gods. Although they responded in a loud voice, Jian Wushuang could tell that they still doubted his strength from their unnatural expressions. Chapter 743, The Eternal Zone Reopens. Chapter 743, The Eternal Zone Reopens. The clansmen from the ancient god clan assembled while the experts and divine realm disciples from all the sects gathered in the void over an ancient forest outside of the Eternal Zone. The three magnates, Cloud Sea Asgard, Immortal Dynasty, and Boundless Demon Sect, also dispatched many experts. Although Cloud Sea Asgard had lost 7 Eternal Realm experts, who were killed by the furious Xianyi, it had not suffered seriously as this magnate was full of brilliant experts. 2 Eternal Realm experts had emerged in Cloud Sea Asgard over the past 100 years. One of them was Wu Dao, who had been set up by Jian Wushuang and had to make a great effort to save his life. That narrow escape had probably stimulated his potential. And once he returned to Cloud Sea Asgard, Wu Dao spent 70 years in closed-door cultivation until he made a breakthrough to the Eternal Realm. Now, as a supreme expert in the firmament territory, he looked energetic and confident. Wu Dao, it's your first time going into the inner layer of the Eternal Zone, so you should be careful. Unlike those in the outer layer, the demon gods in the inner layer are more powerful than us. Although they have a limited understanding of the Tao, it's not easy for us to take the baptismal pools from them. You've just reached the Eternal Realm, so you're not strong enough to fight against them. After you arrive there, go to find other elders as soon as possible. If you collaborate to fight them, you might be able to pull it off. A barefoot elder with a tender face and white hair urged Wu Dao, who nodded in agreement and did not dare to disobey his order. The experts from the other sects looked at the barefoot elder with a flicker of terror in their eyes. Eventually, an Eternal Realm expert from the Mortal Dynasty who could not suppress his curiosity asked, Yun Fan, I didn't expect that you'd personally come here. Are you going to take more baptismal pools for your people? Yun Fan was the great elder of Cloud Sea Asgard, second only to Xianyi, who was known as the most powerful Eternal Realm expert in the firmament territory. He was also the only Eternal Realm expert who had become a silver-armored demon god through the demon god baptismal pool. Therefore, there was no need for him to enter the Eternal Zone. Acquiring one more baptismal pool would be useless to him, unless he grabbed it for the other experts. Humph, whether I go into the Eternal Zone or not is none of your business. Yun Fan looked around with a frosty expression. Perceiving his sharp eyes, the other experts did not dare to say anything further. In fact, Yun Fan was drowning in conflicting emotions. He was reluctant to enter the Eternal Zone. As the Eternal Realm expert from the Immortal Dynasty said, it was not appealing to him. He had to show up here because of the order of his palace master. Cloud Sea Asgard had lost 7 of their Eternal Realm experts 100 years ago, which was a great loss for the sect. It was nearly impossible for human warriors to change into demon gods by using a baptismal pool, but 3 baptismal pools were enough, so the palace master of Cloud Sea Asgard asked Yunfan to head to the Eternal Zone and snatch at least 3 baptismal pools to improve the strength of their Eternal Realm experts. A glum elder from the Boundless Demon sect was inconspicuously standing nearby. He was An Chao, who had crazily hunted Jian Wushuang and forced him to escape into the inner layer. An Chao was also terrified of Yun Fan. The old monster actually came. I should be more careful. This brutal and heartless old guy might grab things by any means. The ancient sect had sent 9 Eternal Realm experts here, 1 more than the last time. Palace Master Destruction was the strongest among the 9 experts. Oh. Last time I was the only one to obtain a baptismal pool, though I failed to change into a demon god. This time we have to take more pools, Palace Master Destruction said. Okay. His comrades nodded in agreement. Oh. Soon after 2 wormholes, which were respectively connected to the outer and inner layer, appeared in the sky. Upon seeing this, the expert's eyes lit up. Let's go. Haha, the Eternal Zone. I'm coming. Demon gods, wait for my killing. Chapter 744 Arrival. Chapter 744 Arrival. In the Tianqi Mountains, Gu Heng looked up to the void over his head, mumbling, "It's almost time, the outsiders are about to arrive." He immediately cried out to his people, "Gu Mian Gu Wu." 2 clansmen walked over instantly. "You 2 stay with Jian Wushuang. The rest of you scatter and take action separately. Go." Gu Heng ordered in a resonant tone. Hundreds of 2-star clansmen immediately teamed up in 2s or 3s and glided in all directions. Gu Mian and Gu Wu appeared behind Jian Wushuang. Gu Heng looked over at Jian Wushuang, saying, "Most of the outsiders will join hands to attack us. You're good, but it's too dangerous to travel alone." Both Gu Mian and Gu Wu are 2-star silver-armored ancient gods. Their powers are not bad, comparable to the human warriors at Step 2 of the Eternal Realm. With them following you, they can be your helpers. Jian Wushuang nodded and asked, "What about you?" Gu Heng smiled and said with confidence, "Of course, I'll travel alone. The outsiders won't threaten me. Even if 4 or 5 outsiders attack me together, I'm able to defeat them by myself." Jian Wushuang shrugged. He had never doubted Gu Heng's strength. Over the past few years in the ancient god palace, he had fought with Gu Heng several times and had lost badly each time. "Okay, be careful. Don't underestimate those outsiders. I will leave first. Goodbye." Gu Heng reminded before he left. Only Jian Wushuang, Gu Mian and Gu Wu remained standing there. "We should go too," Jian Wushuang said and then walked away. Gu Mian and Gu Wu looked at each other. Although they were unwilling to follow Jian Wushuang, they had to obey Gu Heng's order. Not long after the clansmen dispersed, the void above the Tianqi Mountains suddenly shook, and a surge of space waves spread out. "Is it coming?" Jian Wushuang raised his head with a flicker of delight in his eyes. "Master, shall we guard a baptismal pool or travel around to support others?" Gu Mian suddenly asked. Jian Wushuang responded with a smile, "We'll take the second option for sure." The Tianqi Mountains was the main battlefield between the ancient gods and the experts from the firmament territory. The mountains stretched for thousands of miles, and the ancient god clan intentionally set 100 baptismal pools in every nook of the mountains to attract experts from the firmament territory to compete. The clansmen were scattered all over the mountains. Some of them would choose to guard the baptismal pool, waiting for the arrival of outsiders. The others would travel around to trace the outsiders or support other clansmen who were in fierce fights. In fact, it could be said that the attractive demon god baptismal pool was the bait the ancient god clan put down in order to train their own clansmen. The experts from the firmament territory realized it, but the baptismal pool was too irresistible that they would take the bait without hesitation. For the ancient god clan, It would be a great opportunity to fight fiercely with the various experts. After all, they had lived in peace for a long time, so they were raring to fight to the death. The outsiders have just arrived, so they will first get together, then collaborate to grab the baptismal pool. To duel with them, we have to wait for quite a while, Gumian said. Right? Jian Wushuang nodded, his heart full of expectation. Just 2 hours later, Buzz, a mighty power was transmitted towards the three of them. That is, Jian Wushuang and his clansmen all raised their heads while seeing strange power waves radiating in all directions. Gumian's face darkened and said, "This is an SOS from our clansmen. If I'm right, a baptismal pool is set in there." Gu Wu added, "Oh, they've already started to attack?" Jian Wushuang replied with a glitter of excitement on his face. In the Eternal Zone, it was impossible to use messaging slips. The ancient gods live here all year round and had honed their own way to send messages. The strange power waves that emerged in all directions were distress signals from the clansmen of the ancient god clan. Once an SOS was sent, clansmen within a radius of thousands of miles would sense it. "Let's go. Hurry up," Jian Wushuang growled. The three of them instantly streaked toward the battlefield. At the same time, Jian Wushuang put on a full-faced silver monster mask. After all, his identity was somewhat special, and it was better not to be recognized by the experts from the firmament territory. He was dressed in a black robe and carrying a long sword. Under the mask, his sharp eyes shone with a flicker of killing intent. The three magnates of the firmament territory, Cloud Sea Asgard, the Immortal Dynasty, and the Boundless Demon Sect. 100 years ago, you compelled me to this misery and forced me to be stuck in this eternal zone. Big brother Guchong also died for me. I have remembered all these clearly. Now it's time for you to pay back. Jian Wushuang was murderous. After a while, the three of them arrived at their destination where a fierce fight had broken out. A silver-armored ancient god and a copper-armored ancient god were battling with three human experts from the firmament territory. There were 2 men and 1 woman. Jian Wushuang had even met before one of them. "It's him." Jian Wushuang stared at the white-haired elder among the 3 human experts. Although they did not know each other, Jian Wushuang had met this elder 100 years ago before entering the Eternal Zone. This old guy comes from the Immortal Dynasty, so might be the other 2 experts. Thinking of this, an overwhelming killing intent gushed out from his eyes. "Humph!" he snorted. A mighty spiritual power gushed out from his body. A huge powerful palm materialized in front of him, slapping toward Jian Wushuang. Shua! The moment the long sword crashed into the palm of spiritual power, brilliant sword light radiated, causing the giant hand to shatter into pieces. What? Luoao was stupefied. This boy is just a 1-star demon god. How could his strength be so amazing? "Luoao, what are you doing? Kill him. Quick!" the white-haired elder shouted. The 3 experts were at a disadvantage now. Although Gu Mian and Gu Wu had not made a move, the 2 demon gods also posed a threat to them, so the outsiders wanted to leave as soon as possible. "Bastard!" Luoao's eyes blazed with anger as he lashed out. "Go to hell, boy!" A roar reverberated through the area. Demon Heart Spear technique. His long spear shot out, causing a harsh sound of piercing air. Like a huge spiraling awl, it darted violently toward Jian Wushuang. Chapter 746 6 Steps of the Eternal Realm. Chapter 746 6 Steps of the Eternal Realm. Oh! Jian Wushuang raised his head and watched the awl draw closer. Faced with this powerful strike, Jian Wushuang just smiled faintly. He casually brandished his emperor sword. Luoao snarled. His eyes were scarlet. "Go to hell." The Demon Heart Spear technique was Luoao's trump card. It consisted of 9 moves. Although Luoao had only mastered the first 3 moves, the 3 strikes were extremely powerful. But, clang, clang, clang. 3 continuous crashes echoed through the sky. Jian Wushuang only took 3 steps back before he regained his balance. Luoao was stunned. How is this possible? Normally, even an expert at step 1 of the Eternal Realm would need to use full strength to resist his strongest moves. However, the boy, a 1-star ancient god, had withstood 3 strikes with ease. Is that your best move? Jian Wushuang spoke. Huh. Luoyao was shocked. He nodded subconsciously. Jian Wushuang sighed. You're too weak. What did you say? Luoyao's face darkened. A Divine Realm expert dared to humiliate him. An Eternal Realm expert. Although he had just reached the Eternal Realm, he was stronger than ordinary Divine Realm experts. The secret skill you displayed was good, but your spear principle is poor. You haven't condensed the spear heart, so you can't give full play to this skill. 6 steps of the Eternal Realm. You might not reach step 1 of the Eternal Realm, Jian Wushuang said in a flat toneless voice. Eternal Realm experts were considered to be supreme existences in the firmament territory. However, their strength differed. There was a yawning gap between the strongest and the weakest. It was said that Xianyi was the most powerful Eternal Realm expert, and all the other Eternal Realm experts were in awe of him. If an Eternal Realm expert had a full understanding of the 9 occults of a Tao, he would have an opportunity to break through the Eternal Realm. In other words, all Eternal Realm experts had fully comprehended an origin Tao, and even if some of them had mastered more than one origin Tao, their strength would not increase. Their battle strength depended on their comprehension of weapon Tao. The Eternal Realm was comprised of 6 steps. It was equivalent to the 6 levels of weapon Tao. Each level brought a dramatic increase to their strength. Furthermore, it caused their sword or saber techniques to metamorphosize so that their overall strength surged. Jian Wushuang had reached level 2 of Sword Heart, so he was able to make a breakthrough to step 2 of the Eternal Realm. Luoyao did not possess the Spear Heart, which meant he had not reached step 1 of the Eternal Realm. He was at the bottom of the Eternal Realm experts. I haven't condensed the Spear Heart, but I'm still an Eternal Realm expert, far superior to you at the Divine Realm. Luoyao was infuriated by Jian Wushuang's words. He attacked again with his long spear. Jian Wushuang looked at his opponent with scorn. Then he made a move. His sword heart shook slightly, activating 10% of its power. Now his strength had reached a new level. Secret skill Twilight. A cold sword light flashed across the sky like a shooting star. Over the last 100 years, Jian Wushuang had made unprecedented progress. He had invented numerous secret skills, such as the Netherworld, which had unmatched offensive power. Twilight targeted speed. It unleashed the fastest strikes among the numerous sword moves that Jian Wushuang had invented. The sword light flashed by ruthlessly. Luoyao looked ferocious, his eyes blazing with fury, but the next moment he had no head. The Eternal Realm expert was killed in a single strike. What? Upon seeing this, the other 2 Eternal Realm experts, who were busy fighting the 2 demon gods, were petrified. Oh! Gu Mian and Gu Wu also widened their eyes. They could not believe what had just happened. With a look of indifference, Jian Wushuang waved his hand. He took Luoyao's interspatial ring, and then charged toward the other experts. Oh no! Shit! The white-haired elder and purple-clothed lady were terrified. The 2 demon gods had been difficult to deal with, but now there came another. Run, the woman shouted. I don't believe it, the elder roared. Oh! He did not try to escape, rather he turned to dive toward Jian Wushuang and slashed at him with his broadsword. Chapter 747 The Mind-Controlling Secret Skill. Chapter 747 The Mind-Controlling Secret Skill. It seemed as if the void had been hacked open, and a raspy wind-breaking sound broke in. The sound blasted into Jian Wushuang's face, but he stood rooted in place like an unshakable mountain. This guy has already produced his saber heart. He is much more powerful than Luoyao. Yet, he has merely accomplished step 1 of the Eternal Realm. Jian Wushuang murmured to himself. He hoisted his emperor sword up in the air, and half of the sword heart power from his sea of consciousness was instantly released. When he killed Luoyao, he had only used 1/10 of his sword heart power. But now he was directly unleashing half of its power. Secret skill, the Netherworld. Jian Wushuang's eyes shone. He thrust out his emperor sword without mercy, casting out his strongest offensive secret skill. Whoosh! A bright sword light shot out. In an instant the climate changed drastically. The void in his vicinity started to tremble. Boom! A deafening rumble suddenly broke out. The saber that the white-haired elder was holding was also an eternal weapon. He used it to its full capacity. In addition, the move he performed was his strongest saber move. This attack should have been overbearing. However, when it collided with Jian Wushuang's sword light, splat! He spat out a mouthful of blood. He lost his balance and was forced to take a few steps back under the impact of the bombarding power. I'm at step 1 of the Eternal Realm. How could I, a divine realm expert, get crushed by a demon god? And he hasn't even turned into a demon god. The elder was shocked, unable to believe what had just happened. What the elder did not know was that though Jian Wushuang was merely at the level of divine realm expert, the skill he had practiced was the defiant heavenly creation skill. He had a flawless foundation, and his explosive force was stronger than any divine realm expert of the same rank to begin with. And most importantly, he also practiced the Star River secret skill of the ancient god clan and had reached the 11th level, so his power amplitude was 33 times higher than most people. As for most experts in the Eternal Realm, such as the white-haired elder and Luoao, their power amplitude could reach 10 times that of others at most. Despite the fact that Jian Wushuang was only a divine realm expert, in light of his pure power, he would absolutely not lose to anyone in the Eternal Realm. He might even overpower them. Besides, Jian Wushuang had already reached level 2 of sword heart cultivation. He had stayed at this level for 20 years, which meant he had long since climbed to the peak of level 2. The only thing he lacked was comprehension of the origin Tao. But he was only a few inches away, the gap was easy to narrow. In other words, putting aside his current swordsmanship and secret skills, his battle strength was at step 2 of the Eternal Realm. If he went all out and transformed into a gold-armored ancient god, he wouldn't even fear step 3 Eternal Realm experts. This was the strength Jian Wushuang had attained in the Eternal Zone through 100 years of earnest cultivation and countless fierce battles. A divine realm expert without transforming into a gold-armored ancient god, he was already on par with someone at the peak of step 2 of the Eternal Realm. This was incredible for a human being. However, given that he had practiced the heavenly creation skill, his current phase, the deification realm, was a phase in which his battle strength could be limitless. His battle strength could go completely beyond normal people's expectations. Accordingly, when dealing with the white-haired elder at step 1 of the Eternal Realm, even without employing his full power, he could still butcher him easily with only half of his strength. Run quickly, run. When the purple-clothed lady saw this scenario, she was thunderstruck as well. She let out a series of shouts and fled to the void. Run! The white-haired elder also lost his composure, rushed to escape. Although the strength Jian Wushuang just demonstrated utterly astonished them, they still had some assurance about making a successful flee. Chapter 748 An Acquaintance. Chapter 748 An Acquaintance. The mind-controlling secret skill was one of the ancient god clan's top 3 secret skills. It aimed to target the opponent's mind. If one practiced this secret skill to its fullest, he might be able to control others' minds. But apparently Jian Wushuang's present phase was too low. He had just learned the rudiments of this secret skill. Thus, even though he cast it with all his strength, he could only disrupt the mind of the white-haired elder for a moment. But thanks to this moment, Jian Wushuang had seized the chance and destroyed him for good. Now, he had killed 2 of the 3 Eternal Realm of Immortal Dynasty experts. Only one had escaped by fluke, the purple-clothed lady. Your Excellency! Gu Mian Gu Wu, and the 2 clansmen who guarded the baptismal pool approached Jian Wushuang, their faces frightened and awe-stricken. The last time they saw Jian Wushuang, he had only been at the 1-star level. They had taken word of his strength with a grain of salt. Although they knew Jian Wushuang was from the ancient god palace and Gu Heng had once told them in person that Jian Wushuang's strength was stronger than most of the clansmen, they still found it hard to believe because none of them had ever witnessed his true strength. But now, seeing Jian Wushuang strike with their own eyes, they did not dare to doubt his strength anymore. Oh my god! That outsider was really quite powerful. If it had been me dueling with him, even if I turned into an ancient god and went all out, I could at most suppress his power a bit. But he didn't hold himself together long under Jian Wushuang's attack. And at last he was killed, wasn't he? And Jian Wushuang did all this without transforming into an ancient god, right? Gu Mian and Gu Wu voiced their admiration in hushed tones. They were both 2-star silver-armored ancient gods. Their strength was quite impressive, almost rivaling human combatants at Step 2 of the Eternal Realm. Subduing the Elder out in the open would be a piece of cake, but to actually kill him, that would be impossible. But Jian Wushuang had done it, without even transforming into an ancient god. Gu Mian, Gu Wu. Jian Wushuang turned to look at them. From now on, the two of you can stop following me. You should go on your own adventures. What? Their expressions quickly altered. Gu Heng had ordered them to follow Jian Wushuang for all time. The reason Gu Heng ordered you guys to accompany me was to protect me, Jian Wushuang began. Now, as you witnessed, I am much stronger than you. I can travel in the Tianqi Mountains by myself. If I actually fall into a dangerous situation, you two won't be much help. You might even be an extra burden. Gu Mian and Gu Wu exchanged dismal looks, and both gave a wry smile. They knew that he was only telling the truth. Right then, that's settled. I'll take off first, Jian Wushuang said briskly. Then he left. Gu Mian and Gu Wu stood there, watching Jian Wushuang's silhouette fade into the distance. Jian Wushuang was walking alone in the Tianqi Mountains. He suddenly came to a halt and looked back. Seeing that Gu Mian and Gu Wu were not following him, a hearty smile curled on his lips. One day I'll leave the Eternal Zone and go back to the Firmament territory. If these two from the ancient god clan keep tailing me, how am I supposed to get out of here? He said, shaking his head. At this precise moment he sensed something weird and looked out toward the end of the void ahead. A vague black dot appeared. Is someone there? Could it be an ancient god or an expert from the Firmament territory? Jian Wushuang was intrigued. He headed towards the black dot. As he approached the black dot, its true appearance gradually became clear. Is that him? Jian Wushuang's eyes suddenly brightened, and a smile spread across his face. This smile was icy cold, as piercing as a blade. He quickly sped up and flew straight towards the black figure. He could see a young man carrying a saber on his back. He was flying slowly, his eyes cold and lofty. His clothes were a bit tattered. His face looked a little glum. It was obvious that he had just had a fierce fight. It was Wu Dao. A century prior, he had been a disciple of the Cloud Sea Asgard, but now he was an elder. Damn demon gods, they are so tough. Especially the silver-armored demon gods. Wu Dao cursed through gritted teeth as he flew by himself. He had known perfectly that he had just arrived in the Eternal Realm, and could not face the demon gods on his own. Thus, when he entered the Tianqi Mountains, he had immediately joined two other elders of the Cloud Sea Asgard, and they had started the journey together. But the three of them had bumped into a group of 4 demon gods, and one of them was a silver-armored demon god. The two sides instantly started to fight. Of course, the 3 elders were no match for the demon gods. They had been forced to flee in panic. But each of them had chosen a different way to escape, and this was why Wu Dao was now traveling all alone in this stretch of void. Those demon gods have built-in advantages. If I come across a copper-armored demon god, it will be very difficult to tackle him on my own. If I run into a silver-armored demon god, all I can do is run away, Wu Dao said thoughtfully. Based on my current circumstances, the first thing I should do is go to the contact station and rejoin the other 2 elders. Just when Wu Dao had made up his mind, a figure suddenly emerged in the void just ahead of him. Is that? Wu Dao widened his eyes and tried to see what it was. His expression became strange. Demon god? A one-star demon god? Wearing a mask? The one-star demon god abruptly sped up and hurtled towards him. He noticed that the one-star demon god's eyes were flickering with a trace of killing intent. You're just a one-star demon god. How can you kill me? Go to hell. Wu Dao was infuriated. His saber appeared in his hand. Raging killing intent rose up from his body. He charged directly towards the figure. Holding his sword in one hand, Jian Wushuang made a hacking move. He also performed the coordinated 11th level of the Star River secret skill to the extreme. The sword heart in his sea of consciousness unleashed half of its power as well. This move seemed casual, but its power was so overwhelming that even a man at step 1 of the Eternal Realm might not be able to sustain it. Wu Dao also thrust his saber out. He spared no effort in this first strike. A streak of sparkling saber light stretched out. It remained there for a long time before it dispersed. Its power was equally astonishing. Damn you, demon god bastard. Your essence blood is mine now. Wu Dao's eyes were scarlet. He had a savage look in his face. Soon the two figures confronted each other in the void. Chapter 749 The Scarlet Eye. Chapter 749 The Scarlet Eye. Clank. A thunderous clank sounded. Wu Dao's chilling smile suddenly stiffened. In the next moment, his smile was replaced by shock and consternation. He felt a strong force that he had never experienced before pushing him upwards. The saber in his hand was instantly tossed aside in the air. The horrible force landed on his arms and crushed them inch by inch. Then it spread to his insides. Splat! A stream of blood squirted out from his mouth. His body was thrown backward like a kite with its string cut off. His aura began to thin. He's still alive? Jian Wushuang was slightly taken aback. His attack was no less powerful than the one he'd launched at the white-haired elder. The elder had been at step 1 of the Eternal Realm, but he had been unable to avoid being seriously injured. Wu Dao was way below step 1 of the Eternal Realm. Normally, this attack should be more than enough to kill him. However, it was evident that in spite of Wu Dao's unprecedented severe injuries, his life core was not shattered. An expert in the Eternal Realm would not die as long as his life core was intact. Run! Run for it! Soaked in blood, Wu Dao, whose face was too miserable to look at, regained his balance and stood up. Without hesitation, he wheeled around and fled. You can't escape. Jian Wushuang growled, his face frosty. He started chasing Wu Dao. He was extremely swift, much faster than Wu Dao. Jian Wushuang was not much better than Wu Dao at running, but since Wu Dao was severely injured, there was a serious dent in his speed. Damn it! Jian Wushuang was getting closer and closer. Wu Dao's pale face became even more gloomy. I have to make a move. Wu Dao clenched his teeth, and a stream of blood surged up inside his body. The next moment 17 figures who looked exactly like Wu Dao jumped out. A total of 18 Wu Daos appeared before Jian Wushuang. Their appearances and aura were exactly the same. It was impossible to tell them apart with the naked eye. They swiftly fled in different directions. They were extraordinarily fast. This move again. Jian Wushuang's pupils contracted. He was not surprised at all. 100 years ago, Wu Dao had walked into his trap, hunted by a gold-armored ancient god. He had cast the same move in order to run for his life. But back then, he could only conjure 8 doppelgangers. Now he could produce 17. His chance of survival had increased significantly. All 18 figures are exactly the same. Indeed, I cannot distinguish the true one from the others. As long as his original body is alive, it's useless to kill his doppelgangers. What a smart move. Jian Wushuang nodded. He then tittered, unfortunately, it's not going to work on me. Jian Wushuang's face was stony, his eyes transfixed upon the 18 Wu Daos who were running away from him frantically. Between his eyebrows a scarlet mark emerged. It looked like a vertical crack. It was slowly widening. An eerie blood-red upside-down eye suddenly opened. Secret skill, the Scarlet Eye. A jet of blazing blood-red light shot out of the eye and swept across the 18 figures ahead. It was the Scarlet Eye secret skill, one of the ancient god clan's top 3 secret skills. It was devised to penetrate all sorts of illusions. There's his original body. Jian Wushuang targeted one of the figures. He fixed his eyes on Wu Dao's original body. How can it be? Seeing Jian Wushuang go straight for him without being disturbed by the 17 doppelgangers he'd conjured, Wu Dao lost his poise. How did he see through my original body and doppelgangers? Wu Dao found this utterly inconceivable. A sense of terror came over him. In his entire life, he had only felt this kind of overbearing terror once. It had been during the last fight with Xianyi. Xianyi had grabbed him and taken control of his mind. He had been as horror-stricken then as he was now. Today he was once again gripped by this terror. You have no way to escape. Jian Wushuang's icy voice sounded in Wu Dao's ears. A huge sword shadow hacked down on him. The sword shadow was so dazzling that Wu Dao had to narrow his eyes. He frantically wielded his saber in an attempt to resist the attack. But boom! An explosion erupted. Wu Dao's body plummeted downwards like a meteorite. It landed hard on the ground, producing a huge pit that measured 300 meters across. At the center of the huge pit, Wu Dao's body had almost been blasted into pieces. His life core was also damaged, but it had not shattered yet. Wu Dao just lay there, struggling helplessly to get to his feet. Whoosh! Jian Wushuang zoomed in and looked down at him condescendingly. I assume you guys from the Cloud Sea Asgard have set up secret assembly sites in the Tianqi Mountains. Where are they? Jian Wushuang asked. When experts from assorted sects of the Firmament territory entered the Eternal Zone, they often turned up at a certain place in the Tianqi Mountains. Their messaging slips could not function in the Eternal Zone, so the sects circled out secret assembly sites to exchange messages. Humph, you really think I'll tell you? Wu Dao sneered, his eyes already filled with despair. Oh, Jian Wushuang raised his eyebrows. You think as long as you don't tell me I can't figure it out? Wu Dao, you just made a breakthrough and reached the Eternal Realm. This is your first time in the Tianqi Mountains. Unlike other experts from the Cloud Sea Asgards who have traveled the Tianqi Mountains several times, you're completely ignorant of the environment and topography of the Tianqi Mountains. So you must be carrying the map the Cloud Sea Asgard drew for you. The Cloud Sea Asgard's secret assembly sites ought to be marked on the map, am I right? Jian Wushuang smiled blandly. Wu Dao was thoroughly terrified. How? How do you know this? How come you know my name? You know I'm from the Cloud Sea Asgard? And you even know I just entered the Eternal Realm? Are you a demon god? No, the demon god clan couldn't have learned these things. Who on earth are you? Lying on his back, Wu Dao barked desperately, staring at Jian Wushuang. Looking down at Wu Dao, Jian Wushuang smirked coldly, slowly took down his mask, and unveiled a handsome but stern face. Chapter 750 Secret Assembly Sites. Chapter 750 Secret Assembly Sites. You're... Wu Dao's eyes widened. He stared unblinkingly at the face before him. He was too familiar with this face. 100 years ago, precisely because of the owner of this face, he had successfully stepped into the Eternal Zone. Jian Wushuang. Wu Dao growled in a note of disbelief. No way, how could it be you? You're supposed to be dead. You should have died a long time ago. How is this possible? How could this be? He was at a total loss. To his shock, this exceptional genius who he thought had already died 100 years ago was reappearing in front of him today. And he had become an incredibly powerful expert. It should be noted that a century earlier, though Jian Wushuang was an exceptional genius, he had been too young to reach any realms beyond the skyscraping realm. At that time, Jian Wushuang might have been able to put up a fight against him by exercising all his skills and means. But over the past 100 years, Wu Dao had gained a remarkable breakthrough. He had entered the Eternal Realm and crossed the threshold of being an expert. Once he stepped into the Eternal Realm, his strength soared. 100 years ago, Wu Dao had been quite confident that he could kill Jian Wushuang with a casual slap. But now, the Jian Wushuang standing before him had cornered him with invincible strength. leaving him not a single chance to fight back. He was too powerful. The strength Jian Wushuang displayed was too powerful. He is already at step 2 of the Eternal Realm, perhaps even higher than that. He is merely a Divine Realm expert. How could he be so powerful? And it only took him 100 years to achieve this. Wu Dao mumbled to himself, his eyes growing out of focus. Wu Dao, do you still remember when Yu Dao Mei and Long Tao joined hands and attempted to kill me 100 years ago? Jian Wushuang looked down at Wu Dao and asked with cold viciousness. Back then I was too weak. I had to resort to the power of the demon gods to deal with you guys, mere disciples of Divine Realm experts. But now it's different. Think about what the 3 magnates, the Cloud Sea Asgard, the Immortal Dynasty, and the Boundless Demon Sect, did to me 100 years ago. Now, I'm going to make them pay for what they did at a cost 10 times or even 100 times higher. And destroying you is just the start. You're the first. It won't take long before I send more experts from the Cloud Sea Asgard to keep you company in hell. Jian Wushuang shook his hand, and a violent force pressed down on Wu Dao. Wu Dao had long since lost the ability to resist his attacks. He had no choice but to allow this force to destroy him, to crumble his life core and crash his body into dust. Ho ho! Wu Dao's eyes were wide open, filled with terror and rage. Blood was trickling down from the corners of his mouth. It was unbelievable that the 3 magnates should have provoked such a dreadful monster in the battle 100 years ago. How much he wished he could tip off the 3 magnates, warning them to dispatch top-ranking experts and do this monster in before he could incur real disasters upon them. However, he had no chance to do so. As death descended upon him, Wu Dao caught a vague sight of the kind of outrageous mayhem Jian Wushuang was about to cause in the Tianqi Mountains and the Firmament territory. In the beginning, Jian Wushuang's battle strength had merely scraped the level of a superior Divine Realm expert. But now, just 100 years later, he was already in the Eternal Realm and could kill anyone as easily as slaying a chicken. In another century or 2 centuries or a millennium, what kind of level would he reach? Unfortunately, since message tokens were useless in the Eternal Zone, his words obviously could not be spread. After destroying Wu Dao, Jian Wushuang picked up the interspatial ring that Wu Dao left. His mind racing, he started to rifle through its contents. A moment later he found what he was looking for. He lifted a hand and a token appeared in his palm. It was the token carrying the records of a map, the map of the Tianqi Mountains. Just as Jian Wushuang expected, Wu Dao had reached the Eternal Realm not long ago, and this was the first time he had traveled to the Tianqi Mountains. Chapter 751 Waiting for Hares to Crash into a Tree Stump. Chapter 751 Waiting for Hares to Crash into a Tree Stump. In the canyon, the black-robed woman was sitting cross-legged on a boulder, her eyes continuously sweeping the surroundings in vigilance. Although Jian Wushuang flew to her from behind, when he was still 100 meters away, she had already spotted him. Swish! 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 Jets of aquamarine light suddenly shot out. They were as sharp as spears. At least 10 shot towards Jian Wushuang at the same time. They traveled so fast that he was instantly enveloped in aquamarine light. She, who had had her back to him, turned around abruptly, revealing a grotesque face. A hideous grin was spreading across her ugly face. Which reckless dumbass dares to throw a sneak attack on me? 10 shots of aquamarine light zoomed over. Jian Wushuang's eyes were freezing cold. The Emperor sword in his hand stabbed forward. Half of the sword heart power was unleashed. Get away from me! A roar sounded. A towering sword shadow wielded in the air and produced several currents of wind, fending off every jet of aquamarine light. Battle strength at step 2 of the Eternal Realm? The woman was startled. But soon a dull black stone staff appeared in her hand. Holding the staff, she gave off an intimidating aura. All of a sudden, she hurled it toward Jian Wushuang. The long staff quickly swelled and grew in midair. In an instant, it was the size of a mountain. It continued to propel toward him. Jian Wushuang did not panic. He pulled out his sword single-handedly. Secret skill, the Netherworld. Jian Wushuang cast his killing move. A thunderous bang sounded. The black-robed woman gave a violent shudder, and then blood spilled from her mouth too. I am at the peak of step 1 of the eternal realm. If I was seriously wounded by him from only one move, I'm afraid his battle strength is approaching the peak of step 2, she murmured. She quickly turned and fled. A puff of bizarre aquamarine mist rose from her body, and her speed instantly skyrocketed. Secret skill mind controlling. Jian Wuxia clenched his teeth and performed the mind-controlling secret skill. When he'd thrown this attack on the elder from the immortal dynasty, he had frozen on the spot for a second on account of the pain. Now, caught off guard, the black-robed woman also sensed a piercing twinge in her mind, rendering her motionless for a moment. Although this momentary motionlessness was even shorter than that of the elder, Jian Wuxia still seized the opportunity. Secret skill Twilight. He launched his fastest move with the sword. The sword heart power in his sea of consciousness also released 70% of its power, accelerating the speed of the sword significantly. Then, before she could react, Jian Wuxia finished her off. Yeah. After killing the black-robed woman, Jian Wuxia let out a slight sigh of relief. He turned to look at the dead body at his feet. Most of the experts in the Eternal Realm have a way to escape. If it wasn't for the mind-controlling secret skill, even if I become stronger, it would still be very difficult to kill them. Jian Wuxia said to himself. Being good at escaping was a crucial ability. Experts from the Firmament territory relied on it when they journeyed in the Tianqi Mountains. But unfortunately for them, the target of the mind-controlling secret skill was the mind. This was highly eccentric, and always put the enemy off his guard. If Eternal Realm experts were not careful enough, they would easily fall into Jian Wuxia's trap, offering him the chance to launch his fatal attack. With a wave of the hand, the black-robed woman was turned to dust. After burning the corpse and destroying the evidence, Jian Wuxia slinked aside and hid in the canyon. He was waiting for more Cloud Sea Asgard experts to arrive. He did not wait long. In less than half a day, a stocky muscular elder appeared in the canyon. Jian Wuxia, who was still hiding in the dark, recognized with just one glance that this muscular elder was also from the Cloud Sea Asgard. Without hesitation, he struck out again. This elder was not as strong as the woman he had just murdered. In spite of his unique way of fleeing, under the impact of Jian Wuxia's mind-controlling secret skill and Scarlet Eye secret skill, it was impossible for him to escape. In the end, he was slaughtered as well. After destroying 3 Eternal Realm experts, Wu Dao, the black-robed woman, and the muscular elder, Jian Wuxia decided to keep hiding in the Cloud Canyon. But apparently, these 2 were the only experts Wu Dao had joined hands with, because Jian Wuxia waited in the canyon for almost another full day but failed to spot any more. He only saw a few clansmen from the ancient god clan. Seems that the only Cloud Sea Asgard experts around the Cloud Canyon are the 3 of them, he thought. With no more prey to hunt, naturally he chose to leave. He continued his traveling in the Tianqi Mountains. Each time, the Eternal Zone's opening period was only 10 days. Today was already the 3rd day. In the vast void of the Tianqi Mountains, whoosh, 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 3 figures swiftly flitted across the void, each of them emitting a rich aura of spiritual power. Obviously, they were desperately running away from something by casting their secret skills to the fullest. An enormous silver figure emerged behind them. It was obviously a silver-armored ancient god. He was sprinting in hot pursuit after the 3. Usually ancient gods were not good at running fast. However, this silver-armored ancient god was amazingly fast, even a bit faster than the 3 who were fleeing hastily with their secret skills. Nor far behind him were 2 human experts. Bastard! Among the 3 who were fleeing with all their efforts, the one taking the lead was giving off a devastating aura. This man was a palace master from the ancient sect. His name was Destruction. The other 2 were Palace Master Ming Xian and Palace Master Mo Tao. Destruction were not quite as fast as him, and we're already performing our secret skills to the fullest. This costs us a great deal of our spiritual power. Soon our spiritual power will be depleted. What should we do? Separate and run in different directions? Palace Master Mo Tao asked. Separate. Palace Master Destruction's eyebrows furrowed in concentration. If we run together, we might all be killed or all survive. If we separate, one of us will definitely die. We will not separate from each other unless there is no other alternative. Palace Master Imotao and Palace Master Ming Xian both nodded. If they had to separate and flee on their own, it meant they had no way but to sacrifice one's life in order to save the lives of the other two. Once they made such a choice, one of them was bound to die. But for now they were not that desperate. I've sent the emergency signal. I hope experts from our ancient sect can rush here and back us up, otherwise, Palace Master Destruction said. His face was gloomy. That guy is crazy, Imotao yelled, fixing his eyes on the silver-armored ancient god who was hurtling towards them. Chapter 752 Emergency Assistance. Chapter 752 Emergency Assistance. In the Tianqi Mountains. Run for your life. This guy is only a one-star ancient god. How come his strength is so strong? I'm at step 1 of the Eternal Realm. Why was I subdued by him? Quick! Cast your secret skills and run by yourselves. The four cast their secret skills and fled in 4 different directions. The ancient gods who had been chasing after them with all their strength quickly gave up the hunt. In terms of escapability, the human experts from the Firmament territory who ventured into the Tianqi Mountains were quite impressive. Your Excellency! Several ancient gods were standing respectfully in front of a black-robed masked figure. They all looked at him in admiration. The black-robed figure with the wicked mask was, of course, Jian Wushuang. A moment ago, he had noticed a fierce fight was happening here, and he had come immediately. Working together with the other ancient gods, they beat the 4 human experts and forced them into fleeing. Among the 4 experts, the most powerful one had a battle strength at step 2 of the Eternal Realm. But Jian Wushuang easily overpowered him by unleashing merely 70% of his sword heart power, and employing some of his offensive skills in swordsmanship, causing them to flee in disorder. If Jian Wushuang had performed the mind-controlling secret skill at the least expected moment, he could have caught 1 or 2 out of the 4 experts. However, he chose not to do that. These 4 were not from the 3 magnates but another top sect. 100 years ago, the 3 magnates had struck against him. As to the other 8 top sects, maybe they had considered taking him on, but none of them actually did. Thus, Jian Wushuang was not so determined to kill experts from the other 8 top sections. The experts of various sects in the Firmament territory are coveting the ancient god's essence blood and baptismal pools. That's why they entered the Eternal Zone and started fighting. But the ancient god clan regards them as objects that they can use to hone their own skills. Further, they even deliberately placed several baptismal pools in the Tianqi Mountains to lure more experts in. No one can tell which of the 2 sides is justified. But given that the experts of the 8 top sects have never pissed me off, I see no reason to put them to death. Jian Wushuang pondered. Just at this moment, Buzz, a peculiar energy fluctuation suddenly rippled in from afar. This strange energy spread far beyond the normal range, but it went quite furtively, and did not cause any racket. Clansmen from the ancient god clan and the experts from other sects did not sense this energy fluctuation. But Jian Wushuang, a disciple of the ancient sect, detected it clearly. That's the ancient sect's emergency signal? His expression altered abruptly. He knew what the emergency signal of the ancient sect was like. Now he sensed this signal inside the Tianqi Mountains. It meant that the expert who sent this signal was in great danger, or even that he could die at any second. The expert sending the signal was hoping that other experts in the vicinity could go and help him at once. Your Excellency, what's wrong? Seeing the sudden change in Jian Wushuang's expression, the clansmen of the ancient god clan wanted to know what was wrong. You guys go on your adventures, no need to bother about me, Jian Wushuang replied. Then he leaped up and flew out. The clansmen stood gazing at one another. They were clever enough not to try and follow him. The source of the signal is not too far from here. At the speed I'm going, I can be there in 8 minutes. Jian Wushuang was grim-faced. He was flying towards the source of the signal at top speed. 8 minutes might be a short amount of time, but for real experts a battle could end in just a second. It was more than enough time to allow two sides to fight several rounds. Jian Wushuang was not sure he could get there in time. But thanks to the good luck of the Palace Master Destruction and his lot, the direction they were heading for happened to be the direction Jian Wushuang was coming from. It didn't actually take 8 minutes. It was only a minute before he spotted them running furiously towards him. He also caught sight of the silver-armored ancient god, who was chasing closely behind the Palace Master Destruction. The three are Palace Master Destruction, Palace Master Ming Xian, and Palace Master Mo Tao? Jian Wushuang's heart skipped a beat. He had been in the ancient sect long enough to know the Palace Master's strength. Among the 12 Palace Masters of the Dao Palace in the ancient sect, Palace Master Destruction was the most powerful one. He had a battle strength at the peak of Step 2 of the Eternal Realm, and was even approaching Step 3. As for Palace Master Mo Tao, he was also at Step 2. And the last one, Palace Master Ming Xian, was a bit weak, but he was still at the peak of Step 1. The three of them should have been able to handle anything in the Qianqi Mountains, unless they were unfortunate enough to be besieged by a crowd of clansmen from the ancient god clan, or happened to run into Gu Heng, who was also wandering about in the Qianqi Mountains. Even if they met enemies that they could not fight off, they could always escape without effort. But now, even though the three palace masters had joined hands, they were being chased into a tight corner. Helplessly they had sent the emergency signal. A silver-armored ancient god? Jian Wushuang cast another glance at the silver-armored ancient god, who was following Palace Master Destruction and his lot closely. He was continuously narrowing the distance between them. His size and height were the same as that of a normal silver-armored ancient god from the ancient god clan. But at first glance, Jian Wushuang instantly realized that this silver-armored ancient god was not a member of the ancient god clan. It was a human expert. It was obvious that his aura did not belong to the ancient god clan. And there were two human figures following him at a distance. Jian Wushuang recognized that one of them was from the Cloud Sea Asgard. Cloud Sea Asgard experts dare to hunt down three ancient sect palace masters? Jian Wushuang's face darkened, flames of fury dancing in his eyes. Palace Master Destruction and the other two who were hastily running away were fuming as well. Yunfan, the Cloud Sea Asgard is really going to turn against our ancient sect, isn't it? Palace Master Destruction snarled harshly. The silver-armored ancient god following behind Palace Master Destruction, and his lot was Yunfan, a great elder of the Cloud Sea Asgard. He was the only expert in the whole firmament territory who had managed to turn into a silver-armored ancient god. Among all the experts in the eternal realm of the firmament territory, his strength was second only to Xianyi, and this was widely acknowledged. Humph! When he heard Palace Master Destruction's snarl, Yunfan just let out a snort. He did not slow down at all. 100 years ago, Xianyi murdered our top 7 experts. Our palace master is a bit afraid of Xianyi and unwilling to go against him. But this doesn't mean the Cloud Sea Asgard has forgotten what your ancient sect did to us. We have no fear of the rest of your experts. If anything, this is all Xianyi's fault. Yunfan's complexion was icy cold. Immense killing intent was gushing out of his eyes. The Cloud Sea Asgard was prone to be tough and domineering. But when 7 of their experts in the Eternal Realm were murdered, they had been surprisingly silent. They didn't even file a complaint. This was not their style. But at this moment, the 3 palace masters and Yunfan all noticed that a mysterious figure had suddenly emerged in the void ahead of them. Chapter 753: An outburst of the strongest battle strength. Chapter 753. An outburst of the strongest battle strength. Who's that? A demon god. Palace Master Destruction, Palace Master Mo Tao, and Palace Master Ming Xian caught sight of Jian Wushuang, but they did not stop running. Jian Wushuang was standing motionlessly in the void, staring coldly at Yunfan, who had transformed into a silver-armored ancient god. Is that Yunfan, the great elder from the Cloud Sea Asgard? His mind was racing. It is said that aside from his master, Yunfan is the most powerful Eternal Realm expert in the firmament territory. His strength is at least at the peak of Step 3. Perhaps it's already at Step 4. No wonder he has driven Palace Master Destruction and the other two to flee in haste. He is stronger than any of the human Eternal Realm experts I've met before. Such being the case, Jian Wushuang squinted. A dark golden light flickered in his eyes. He activated his inside bloodline and his body started to grow at an incredible speed. A 15-meter-high gold-armored ancient god appeared, exuding blazing golden lights. A gold-armored demon god. Palace Master Destruction and the other two were stunned. They had been told that there were only a few gold-armored demon gods in the whole demon god clan, and they were the most powerful of all the demon gods. They had once fought with a gold-armored demon god, so they were perfectly aware of the terrible strength such a creature could possess. Although it seemed that the gold-armored demon god before them was only at the 1-star level, as they watched him turn into a demon god, they still shuddered with fear. He was way too big and strong. He was 15 meters tall. A 15-meter-high gold-armored demon god looked like a small mountain in their eyes. Behind them, the silver-armored demon god Yun Fan had turned into was only 5 meters high. Oh! When Jian Wushuang transformed into a gold-armored ancient god, his emperor sword also grew to 10 meters long. He held the sword in his hand. A majestic aura started to permeate to the surroundings. Fight! Jian Wushuang howled. His huge feet strode quickly forward. A series of heavy footsteps sounded. Each step carried enormous power. When he stomped, the void was distorted by his weight. He made one step after another. His aura grew increasingly thicker. The moment Palace Master Destruction and the other two, who were busy escaping at top speed, saw the gold-armored ancient god galloping towards them, their expressions altered in terror. Palace Master Ming Xian was utterly petrified. What a dreadful, dreadful power! He is only a 1-star demon god, but the pressure he imposes on me is even more unbearable than that of the strongest 2-star silver-armored demon god I've ever met. What should we do? What should we do now? Palace Master Mo Tao lost his poise and started shouting in panic. Yun Fan, who had turned into a silver-armored demon god, was still chasing after them. And now a horrible gold-armored ancient god had appeared in front of them. Despair. Palace Master Mo Tao and Palace Master Ming Xian were gripped with anguish. We're screwed. Palace Master Destruction shouted. The 15-meter-high gold-armored demon god arrived in front of them. Shocked and terrified, Palace Master Destruction and the other two forgot to even defend themselves. But in the next second, something astonishing happened. The 15-meter-high gold-armored demon god was very close to them, but he seemed to have no intention of taking them on. He barely looked at them and passed by swiftly. What? How come? He. Their minds went numb for a moment. They had fought against demon gods many times. Whenever demon gods spotted them, they attacked without hesitation. However, this gold-armored demon god had just swept past them without even looking at them. How could that be? What was really going on? In fact, Yun Fan was just as startled. What the hell? His face turned grim. The gold-armored demon god didn't do anything to those three but is rushing towards me. Is it because I'm a human being transformed into a demon god? This gold-armored demon god hates me for this? Myriads of thoughts popped into Yun Fan's mind. But at this moment he had no time to figure it out, for Jian Wushuang was already in front of him. Secret skill, the Netherworld. Jian Wushuang held the Emperor sword with both hands. The sword heart was shaking fiercely in his sea of consciousness. He released all of his power. His strength skyrocketed to the extreme. He quickly launched his most formidable secret skill. Jian Wushuang went all out on the first attack. Since his arrival in the Tianqi Mountains, Jian Wushuang had gone through several battles with Eternal Realm experts from various sects in the Firmament territory. But during these fights, he had never fully demonstrated his power. In terms of sword heart power, he always kept a portion of it reserved. And he had never transformed into an ancient god to fight, either. But now he had turned into a gold-armored ancient god and unleashed the full power of his sword heart. Boom! A colossal sword light appeared. When Jian Wushuang put in all his strength, His mighty sword unleashed a stream of force that astounded the world like a starry sword river. Swoosh! The force shot toward Yun Fan with great momentum. The sky changed color, and everything started to tremble. Although the sword attack had not reached its target yet, its frightening momentum was already whirling about, relentlessly squeezing the air and pressing against the vast earth below. Crack! On the ground below, cracks emerged one after another. Each of them was more than 300 meters in length. Bang! A rumble sounded. The entire earth sank a few meters under the impact of the terrifying momentum. At this point, Palace Master Destruction and the other two had already fled far from the battlefield, and so had the two experts from the Cloud Sea Asgard. But despite the distance, they could still feel the horrible power this sword light carried, and they all gasped. As for Yun Fan, he was the one the sword light targeted, so he distinctly felt its dreadful power. His face grew solemn. "You're a gold-armored demon god? So what? You're just a 1-star. I am a 2-star silver demon god." Yun Fan bellowed. He was clenching a black stone staff, which suddenly grew to 3 meters long. It emitted an overbearing aura. As Yun Fan hoisted it up with his both hands, whiffs of world-devastating aura began to converge into it. Secret skill. Heaven Anthem. Suddenly, a clear and melodious voice reverberated throughout the area. The voice was beautiful, but it was also mingled with a trace of sorrow. It sounded like the music of lament. The music kept ringing. A towering stone staff streaked furiously across the sky. It was heading straight for Jian Wushuang. He put his silver mask on, but you could still see his dismal eyes through the 2 holes in the mask. Yun Fan really is a great elder of the Cloud Sea Asgard. He is way too strong. I turned into a gold-armored ancient god and gave a full play of my strength. My battle strength must have reached step 4 of the Eternal Realm. And yet I still couldn't finish him. Plus, he's a great elder from the Cloud Sea Asgard. He must have some trump cards or awesome secret skills that he could but didn't use. Jian Wushuang murmured. He knew that to break through any of the 6 steps of the Eternal Realm would require a real metamorphosis of strength. Although the Eternal Realm was divided into 6 steps, most of the Eternal Realm experts in the Firmament territory were stuck at step 1 or step 2. Some experts could not even reach step 1. Only a handful of experts could bring their battle strength to step 3. You could count the Eternal Realm experts who were equipped with a step 3 battle strength on 2 hands. Even if you counted in solitary experts as well, there were still less than 20. As for the number of experts at step 4, it would be even less. Currently, the only Eternal Realm expert who had reached beyond step 4 in the entire Firmament territory was Xianyi. Yun Fan had the potential to reach step 4, but no one had verified it. After all, ever since he became a great elder of the Cloud Sea Asgard, people seldom saw him strike. But after this fight, Jian Wushuang was certain that Yun Fan had a battle strength at step 4. He used a long staff as his weapon, and he also produced the staff heart. Like my sword heart, his staff heart is also at the peak of level 2. However, he can turn into a silver-armored ancient god. Once he transformed his strength sword up, which could probably match someone at the peak of step 3. In addition, he has practiced the Star River secret skill. He had clearly sensed the power of the Star River secret skill Yun Fan cast. Level 5. His Star River secret skill has already reached level 5. He can unleash an offensive power 15 times more than his original power, which is 5 times stronger than normal Eternal Realm experts. In light of this sole advantage, I'm sure his battle strength has already passed step 3 of the Eternal Realm and entered step 4. If he also uses one of his trump cards or another secret skill, he can never lose to other experts at step 4. As for Jian Wushuang, when he was not an ancient god, his battle strength was at the peak of step 2. But once he transformed into an ancient god, it should be noted that he was a gold-armored ancient god with part of the imperial bloodline, much tougher than the silver-armored ancient god Yun Fan could turn into. When he assumed the form of an ancient god, his battle strength could reach step 4 as well. My overall strength is very close to his. If we actually get into a life or death battle, The result will likely depend on whose trump cards are more imposing. Jian Wushuang clenched his hands, eyes glinting. He had been holding a grudge against the three magnates for a long time. Among the three magnates, the one he resented most was the Boundless Demon Sect. After all, it was an expert from the Boundless Demon Sect that had incurred the death of Gu Qiong. Nevertheless, the one he favored least was the Cloud Sea Asgard. Now that Yun Fan was a great elder, if Jian Wushuang could murder him, it would certainly be a huge blow to the Cloud Sea Asgard. Chapter 755, The Revenge of the Cloud Sea Asgard. Chapter 755, The Revenge of the Cloud Sea Asgard. When Jian Wushuang blocked Yun Fan, Palace Master Destruction, Palace Master Mo Tao, and Palace Master Ming Xian had seized the opportunity and fled without stopping. A series of blasts had sounded from behind, keeping them in constant terror. They did not breathe a sigh of relief until they had escaped far from the battlefield and met Bai Yu and Lingyu, who had also detected the emergency signal and hurried to help. On a rather deserted hill, the 5 Eternal Realm experts of the ancient sect gathered together. Destruction, what on earth happened? What made you send the emergency signal? Palace Master Destruction's face went somber. It was because of Yun Fan. Yun Fan. Bai Yu and Lingyu were both taken aback. At first the three of us were pretty lucky. We snatched up a baptismal pool from the demon gods. But as soon as we got it, we bumped into Yun Fan, who happened to be passing by, and 2 other experts from the Cloud Sea Asgard. Palace Master Destruction started to recount the whole story. They're all human beings as we are. So even though Yun Fan felt jealous about us obtaining the baptismal pool, he should have restrained his temper a bit. But to our surprise, the old bastard launched a direct strike against us. At this point, Palace Master Destruction, Palace Master Mo Tao, and Palace Master Ming Xian looked highly infuriated. The 3 of us naturally found this outrageous and tried our best to fight back. But Yun Fan has concealed his strength for so many years, he must have brought his strength to a higher level in secret. By my calculation, his present battle strength rivals someone at Step 4 of the Eternal Realm, Palace Master Destruction said. Step 4. Bai Yu and Lingyu were shocked. He turned into a silver-armored demon god and totally subdued us all by himself, Palace Master Destruction went on. We could only flee in a haste, but he didn't give up and kept chasing after us. We thought he was coming for the baptismal pool. Since he was so desperate to get the thing to save our lives, I proposed that he could have the baptismal pool in exchange for our safety. But to everyone's shock, he refused. Refused? Palace Master Bai Yu's expression altered. You promised him the baptismal pool of the demon gods. How could he turn you down? Who knows? Destruction shook his head. That guy was crazy. He just wanted the 3 of us dead. Palace Master Mo Tao cursed under his breath. We were being chased and were running out of solutions. So we had to send the emergency signal and ask for help, Palace Master Destruction said helplessly. When he finished, Palace Master Bai Yu and Vice Palace Master Lingyu both turned quite solemn. The 3 had been willing to give him the baptismal pool of demon gods, yet he still didn't let them off the hook. It seemed that he was really going to kill Palace Master Destruction and the other 2. We then asked ourselves whether Yun Fan held some personal grudge against us. Judging by his behavior, it's obvious that he wants to have a go at our ancient sect. If nothing else, I reckon it's because 100 years ago Palace Master Xianyi killed 7 Eternal Realm experts from the Cloud Sea Asgard. I bet that ever since, the Cloud Sea Asgard has been bearing a grudge against our ancient sect. And this was why Yu Fan vented his anger on us. What a jerk. Isn't he afraid of provoking the entire ancient sect? Bai Yu swore. No, he isn't. Vice Palace Master Lingyu suddenly spoke. Palace Master Destruction and the other 2 immediately turned to look at him. Lingyu continued with a note of seriousness, everybody, as you know, although our ancient sect is a very special sect in the firmament territory, sometimes we still have to look out for the 3 magnates. To be honest, the overall strength of our ancient sect is not that remarkable, nor is our history or foundation. All we have are our sect master and palace master Xianyi. Now, in terms of the three magnates, the strength of any of them is way above our ancient sect. They have no fear for our ancient sect or our eternal realm experts. They really only care about our sect master and palace master Xianyi. However, our sect master always acts in secret. It's been years since he revealed himself before us. We don't even know if he is still in the firmament territory or not. As for Palace Master Xianyi, well, you all know his temper. He has his own style. As long as others don't offend him to an unbearable extent, such as killing his top disciples, his close relatives, or putting the ancient sect in a life-threatening crisis, he won't strike back. Precisely for this reason, Yun Fan has no scruples in attacking you guys. 100 years ago, it was Palace Master Xianyi who killed 7 Eternal Realm experts from the Cloud Sea Asgard, causing them to suffer a great loss. But they don't dare get back at Palace Master Xianyi, so they can only attack our experts as revenge. After hearing Vice Palace Master Ling Yu out, Palace Master Destruction and his lot nodded in agreement. They all sincerely approved of what Vice Palace Master Ling Yu had just said. Indeed, the only ones in the ancient sect that could really frighten the three magnates were their sect master, who was titled as the top expert in the firmament territory, and Palace Master Xianyi, who was famous for his mysterious but formidable power. Other than these two, the three magnates never took other experts seriously. Accordingly, it was only normal for the three magnates to retaliate against them instead of Xianyi. Seems that in the next few days we have to be more cautious, Palace Master Destruction exclaimed. The other Palace Masters nodded in agreement. By the way, Destruction, Palace Master Baiyu looked back. You said you were in such a dangerous situation. But how on earth did you escape from Yun Fan? The three Palace Masters exchanged embarrassed looks. Their expressions became a bit odd. Here's the thing. Palace Master Destruction started to explain. When we were running away, we came across a gold-armored demon god with horrible strength. This gold-armored demon god was only at the 1-star level, but his battle strength was just as great as Yun Fan's. And the most important thing is that he showed no interest in us at all. No interest? Palace Master Baiyu was a bit startled. Yes, he was not interested. Palace Master Ming Xian nodded as well. He was right in front of us. But when he came near, he just went past, didn't even shoot a glance at us. He didn't attack either. Instead, he got into a fight with Yun Fan. Thanks to him barring Yun Fan's way, we finally got a chance to run away. Really? The other two Palace Masters found this a bit fishy. How could a demon god have no interest in the three experts? Actually, there is another thing. Palace Master Destruction spoke suddenly. His brows furrowed slightly. What is it? The other Palace Masters all turned to look at him. When the gold-armored demon god was battling with Yun Fan, I observed the sword he was using. The sword appeared to be the Emperor's sword. Palace Master Destruction grunted. What? Palace Master Emotao, Palace Master Baiyu, and the rest were all astonished at these words. The Emperor's sword. The one Palace Master Xianyi had made? The one that belonged to the successor of the Sword Palace? Chapter 756 A Reunion. Chapter 756. A Reunion. Destruction, did you see it clearly? Palace Master Emotao asked anxiously. They had been in a rush. He and Palace Master Ming Xian had not even cast a proper glance at the long sword Jian Wushuang was wielding. Only Palace Master Destruction saw it. The sword in the gold-armored demon god's hand was enlarged several times, but I still recognized it. I'm sure it was the Emperor's sword. Palace Master Destruction nodded again to confirm his judgment, whetting the curiosity of the ancient sect's other Palace Masters. For all time, the Emperor's sword was supposed to be in Jian Wushuang's hands, wasn't it? 100 years ago, Jian Wushuang had gotten caught up in a serious crisis in the Eternal Zone and never walked out of it. He had probably died long ago. As for the Emperor's sword, it had likely fallen into the hands of the demon gods. They would not be surprised at all to see a demon god carrying the Emperor's sword show up to kill them. But the gold-armored demon god they just met had not intended to attack them. Considering that he was only a one-star demon god but was carrying the Emperor's sword, they could not help but feel very skeptical about the whole thing. Guys, tell me, do you think the gold-armored demon god we met could possibly be? Palace Master Destruction broke off. The other 4 palace masters also fell into silence. At this precise moment, a swoosh of wind sounded, and a figure suddenly appeared before them. Who's there? Palace Master Destruction and the other 4 instantly swiveled around to look at the figure. When they caught a clear sight him, the palace masters were all dumbstruck. The black-robed figure, carrying a long sword on his back and wearing a wicked silver mask, was the same gold-armored demon god that had just gotten rid of Yun Fan for them. He slowly took off his wicked mask. Then his voice sounded, reverberating in the mountainous space. It's been 100 years since we last met. Palace Masters, I hope that you are all well. Jian Wushuang's voice held a trace of sorrow, whereas a smile was curling along his lips. After getting rid of Yun Fan, he had set off in the direction of Palace Master Destruction and the others. Sure enough, he had caught up with them and saw the 5 palace masters of the ancient sect assembled here. When the 5 palace masters recognized Jian Wushuang's face, they were stunned and soon overjoyed. Jian Wushuang, is it really you? You didn't die. The 5 palace masters quickly approached him and blurted out their amazement at the same time. They were shocked, thrilled, and apparently blown away by this rather unbelievable miracle. When Jian Wushuang did not walk out of the Eternal Zone 100 years ago, almost everyone thought he was dead. The experts of the ancient sects also believed he had met his downfall. But now, here he was standing before them unscathed. I have a tough fate. How could I die so easily? Jian Wushuang said with a faint smile. This is utterly unbelievable. Jian Wushuang, how did you survive? They stepped forward and sized him up with intense curiosity. Human experts from the Firmament territory often got involved in fights against demon gods, so the demon god clan hated them bitterly. But it turned out that a total of 100 years had passed. Jian Wushuang turned out to be fine after staying 100 years in the demon god clan. I'm just lucky, Jian Wushuang explained half-heartedly. After exchanging short greetings, the 5 palace masters gradually calmed down. Jian Wushuang, quickly tell us what really happened. You didn't die 100 years ago, why didn't you get out of the Eternal Zone in time? Palace Master Destruction posed several questions in one breath. Here is my story. Jian Wushuang gave them a summarized version of what had happened 100 years ago. He told them how the disciples from the Cloud Sea Asgard and the Immortal Dynasty attacked him, and how the Boundless Demon Sect dispatched an Eternal Realm expert who chased him to the outer layer. Of course, he said nothing about the ancient god clan arresting Wu Dao, Dao Mei, and Long Tao by luring them into a trap. No wonder you didn't return in time. It turns out you were being hunted by an Eternal Realm expert from the Boundless Demon Sect, and were forced to flee to the inner layer. Palace Master Destruction scowled. Then he let out a snort. Humph, how ruthless the Boundless Demon Sect is. They not only send out their disciples to strike, but also dispatched an Eternal Realm Elder to turn around and assassinate you, a nobody in the skyscraping realm? The Boundless Demon Sect is truly vicious. The Boundless Demon Sect is treacherous and despicable. And the Cloud Sea Asgard and the Immortal Dynasty are not good guys either. Palace Master Mo Tao and Palace Master Baiyu echoed his comments. Thanks to my luck, I narrowly escaped from the Boundless Demon Sect expert. But due to my severe injuries, I failed to get back in time. And during the past 100 years, I stayed in the Eternal Zone. For a few special reasons, the Demon God Clan did not go hard on me. In fact, they treated me fairly well, Jian Wushuang said. He merely told them it was for special reasons but did not elaborate further. Palace Master Destruction and the other Palace Masters were eloquent enough to not insist on poking into this matter. Right then, no matter what you've been through in the past 100 years, it's enough that you're still alive. When your Master Xianyi hears about this, he will certainly be very glad, Palace Master Destruction said, beaming. Yeah, 100 years ago, Palace Master Xianyi was furious at the news of your death. In front of all the experts of various sects, he directly launched an open attack against the Cloud Sea Asgard and killed 7 of their Eternal Realm experts. It really devastated them. Palace Master Imotao laughed. But precisely for this incident, the Cloud Sea Asgard began to hold a grudge against our ancient sect. And this is exactly why the 3 of us were being chased just now. Really? His words stirred something in Jian Wushuang's mind. His master, Xianyi, had slaughtered 7 Eternal Realm experts from the Cloud Sea Asgard to vent his rage when he heard of his death. Besides that, Jian Wushuang, your strength truly surprised us, Palace Master Destruction added. Mo Tao, Ming Xian, and the other palace masters all gazed at each other speechlessly. They smiled, but their eyes revealed a trace of terror. Especially Palace Master Destruction, Palace Master Mo Tao, and Palace Master Ming Xian. After all, they had witnessed the fierce fight between Jian Wushuang and Yun Fan with their own eyes. Jian Wushuang could turn into a gold-armored demon god, and he was thoroughly qualified to battle with Yun Fan head-on. It was evident that his strength had reached step 4 of the Eternal Realm. That was to say, his strength was much stronger than any of theirs. And Jian Wushuang was still a Divine Realm expert. For people in the Firmament territory, it was completely inconceivable that a Divine Realm expert could have a battle strength at step 4 of the Eternal Realm. They had never heard of the existence of such a formidable Divine Realm expert within the Firmament territory. Chapter 757 Traces. Chapter 757 Traces. On a nameless hill in the Tianqi Mountains, Jian Wushuang and 5 palace masters of the ancient sect were chatting. Jian Wushuang, I'm so happy to see you alive, Palace Master Destruction said. In a few days the Eternal Zone will close again. Please leave with us before that happens. Sure. Jian Wushuang nodded. Well, what's your plan for the next couple of days? Do you want to travel with us or go by yourself? Palace Master Destruction asked another question. I still have some things to take care of, so I may not be able to join you this time, Jian Wushuang answered. Are you going to deal with the 3 magnates? Palace Master Destruction cast a significant look at him. Jian Wushuang nodded slightly. With your current strength, experts from the 3 magnates in the Tianqi Mountains are hardly a threat to you. But you still need to be careful, Palace Master Destruction advised. I know. He gave a smile. By the way, is there any chance you know who the Eternal Realm expert from the Boundless Demon sect that hunted me down was? Jian Wushuang had not forgotten Gu Qiong, to whom he owed a lot. Gu Qiong had died for him. His death had become a thorn growing in Jian Wushuang's heart. He was absolutely determined to kill the Eternal Realm expert who had chased after him back then. Judging by his appearance, strength, and the attack style that you just described, I reckon it was En Chao. Palace Master Destruction said solemnly. En Chao. Jian Wushuang memorized this name by heart. Speaking of En Chao, the expressions of Palace Master Bai Yu and Vice Palace Master Ling Yu suddenly turned weird. What's the matter? Jian Wushuang looked at them. Jian Wushuang, frankly, not long ago, when Ling Yu and I were adventuring in the Tianqi Mountains, we ran into En Chao, Palace Master Bai Yu began. Really? Jian Wushuang's face altered. The place we met him is not far from here. When we saw him, he was with 3 guys, all experts from the Boundless Demon sect. One of them was Xia Yuan. Palace Master Bai Yu said. Xia Yuan. Jian Wushuang repeated, staring at Palace Master Bai Yu in bewilderment. Xia Yuan is extremely strong. He is at step 2 of the Eternal Realm. A few days ago, he usurped a baptismal pool and successfully used it to transform into a copper-armored demon god. When he assumes the form of a copper-armored demon god, his battle strength will reach step 3 of the Eternal Realm, Palace Master Bai Yu said. An Eternal Realm expert with a battle strength at step 3 of the Eternal Realm could be counted as the strongest expert in the Firmament territory. Among the Palace Masters of the ancient sect, only Palace Master Destruction had a viable chance of putting up a fight against him. The 4 of them must be traveling as a group. I'm afraid that they are still wandering about in that area, Palace Master Bai Yu added. Jian Wushuang simply took out the map of the Tianqi Mountains. Palace Master Baiyu, where did you meet them? He asked. Palace Master Baiyu quickly looked through the map and pointed a finger at a giant mountain. Here. Near the Icefire Mountain. Here. Jian Wushuang tilted his head a little. Thanks a lot. Jian Wushuang put the map away. He cupped his hands at Palace Master Destruction and the other four. He was ready to leave. Jian Wushuang, remember, in 7 days, you have to hurry to the Heavenly Stone Valley and find our ancient sect's assembly place. If you miss this chance, you can only stay in the Eternal Zone for another 100 years, Palace Master Destruction yelled. Got it, Jian Wushuang shouted back. He was already flying away. On the hill, Palace Master Destruction and the other four were standing in a line. They watched Jian Wushuang gradually fly out of sight and then heaved a sigh. The kid has upgraded his strength to such a level in merely 100 years. Even we can't catch up with him now. I always knew he was very talented, but I never expected him to be so powerful. Destruction, over the past 100 years you've been bragging about Feng, your personal disciple, showing him off like a star, right? You also said that in less than 1,000 years Feng could enter the Eternal Realm, right? How about you let this disciple have a fight against Jian Wushuang and we can see who is better? Palace Master Imotao said jokingly. Fight? What for? Palace Master Destruction breathed a puff of air into his beard. His face thoroughly bitter. Feng. Whether he could break through the Eternal Realm was still unknown. Even if he did, there was no way he could be more powerful than Jian Wushuang, could he? Following Palace Master Baiyu's directions, Jian Wushuang headed for the Icefire Mountain. It took him less than half a day to reach the foot of the Icefire Mountain. I wonder if Fen Chao and his lot are still around, Jian Wushuang muttered. He began to loaf about in the vast region around the Icefire Mountain. Only 2 hours later, he detected the emergency signal of the ancient god clan. He rushed there as fast as he could. However, since the source of the signal was quite far, by the time he got there, the fight was already over. The water in a baptismal pool had been taken by someone. The 2 ancient god clansmen responsible for guarding the baptismal pool were both severely injured. Thanks to the timely arrival of other clansmen, they had not been killed. Jian Wushuang inquired about the human experts who attacked them. The answers they gave were exactly what Jian Wushuang wanted to hear. According to the account of the 2 injured clansmen, 4 human experts had attacked them, one of whom transformed into a copper-armored ancient god. There was also a glum elder in their group, who was supposed to be in Chao. Seems that the 4 from the Boundless Demon sect are still around. Jian Wushuang squinted into the surroundings and muttered, there are 6 baptismal pools in the vicinity of the Icefire Mountain. They've already robbed one of them. They must be biding their time to rob the rest. Jian Wushuang's eyes turned cold. Once the Boundless Demon sect experts struck again, his opportunity would come. Jian Wushuang continued to wander around the Icefire Mountain, waiting for the 4 Boundless Demon sect experts to strike again. Meanwhile, on the bank of a small nameless lake near the Icefire Mountain, 4 figures were sitting together. Haha, following Mr. Xia Yuan is great. Look, we obtained a baptismal pool without effort. And Chao, a glum black-robed elder, said with a chilling voice. Well, it's just a baptismal pool, not a big deal. A strapping shirtless man snorted. This was Xia Yuan, the most powerful among the group of 4. And Chao gave a dry smile and did not dare to say more. Xia Yuan looked around. We investigated before. There are 6 baptismal pools at the Icefire Mountain. We only have 1. It's nothing to brag about. If we can obtain all 6 baptismal pools, that will be something. And our next target is this one. Chapter 758 Returning a Favor. Chapter 758 Returning a Favor. Next to a baptismal pool near the Icefire Mountain in the Tianqi Mountains, 2 imposing figures were standing quietly. They kept casting nervous looks at their surroundings. In the void not far from the baptismal pool, a group of 4 people gathered together. They were from the Boundless Demon sect and led by Xia Yuan. They were overlooking the distant baptismal pool through the void. We've scouted out the baptismal pool. 2 demon gods are guarding it. Both of them are 2-star silver-armored demon gods, and their battle strength rivals experts at Step 2 of the Eternal Realm. One of them, in particular, carries a longbow on his back. He is a very good archer, Xia Yuan said in a deep voice. Well, I can handle the demon god with the longbow. Kongjing, the other demon god, is yours. It'll do if you just hold him back. Can you do that? Xia Yuan asked the man standing beside him. No problem. Kongjing nodded. Although he was only at Step 1 of the Eternal Realm, what he did best was tangle with the opponent. It was not difficult for him to hold a 2-star silver-armored demon god back. As for the 2 of you, just hurry down at your fastest speed and collect all the water in the baptismal pool. Understand? Xia Yuan turned to look at An Chao and the last Eternal Realm expert. Yes. An Chao and the other guy nodded in unison. All right then, let's get started. Xia Yuan took the lead and zipped ahead of them towards the baptismal pool, at an incredible speed. An Chao and the other 2 Eternal Realm experts were on his heels. A few seconds later, they were visible to the 2 clansmen from the ancient god clan. A rich aura burst out from Xia Yuan. As he advanced forward, he was also growing in size. In an instant, he turned into a copper-armored ancient god. Invasion! The 2 clansmen instantly realized what was happening. One was a hairy middle-aged man, carrying a longbow and wrapped in fur. It was Gu Yang, the same person who had saved Jian Wushuang from An Chao 100 years ago. Seeing Xia Yuan and the others charging toward him, Gu Yang gave a snort and immediately transformed into a silver-armored ancient god. The longbow he usually carried on his back appeared in his hands. His huge hands drew the bow forcefully. A stream of horrible power started to converge in the longbow. The power was so formidable that even An Chao and Kongjing, who were both at Step 1 of the Eternal Realm, began to shudder involuntarily. It's him. An Chao's pupils contracted as he recognized Gu Yang. 100 years ago, Gu Yang had shot 2 arrows at him. The first one seriously wounded him. When the second one was about to hit him, he had thrown out one of his trump cards and escaped by a fluke. He knew that Gu Yang's strength was far superior to that of an ordinary 2-star silver-armored ancient god. Go to hell! A snarl sounded. Gu Yang suddenly loosened his right hand, which had been tensely drawing the bowstring. A pitch-black arrow shot out, streaking across the void like a bright shooting star. The frightening arrow appeared in front of Xia Yuan in the blink of an eye. Xia Yuan had a cold look. A sense of contempt flitted through his eyes. He was holding a giant axe in one hand. He hacked his giant axe lazily forwards and split the air in 2. Clang! With a loud clang, the arrow was smashed to pieces. What? Gu Yang looked panic-stricken. He shouted, "Hurry up, send the emergency signal. These outsiders are powerful." The other clansman standing next to Gu Yang had already registered the current situation. Without hesitation, he sent out the emergency signal. It would take some time before anyone who picked up the signal could come here. The 2 did not know whether they could hold it together that long. Humph! Xia Yuan snorted. He strode up to Gu Yang with his giant axe in hand and swung it at Gu Yang. Gu Yang pushed his longbow onto his back and a long black spear emerged mysteriously in his hand. He threw himself into a fierce fight with Xia Yuan. Gu Xiu's battle strength was more than enough to allow him to deal with an expert at the peak of Step 2 of the Eternal Realm. However, it was still way below Xia Yuan's. Shortly after they began to fight, the outcome was clear. Xia Yuan was totally quashing Gu Yang. On the other side, Kongjing had also successfully entangled the other clansmen. An Chao and the last Eternal Realm expert had reached the baptismal pool of demon gods. They began to extract the water using their interspatial rings. Bastard! Gu Yang felt a rush of fury flowing into his heart. When he caught sight of An Chao and the other guy frantically drying up the pool, his expression turned even darker. He broke free with all his force, drew his longbow once again and shot another arrow towards An Chao. It was a lethal attack. An Chao and the other Eternal Realm expert jumped sideways. The arrow missed its target and failed to cause any injuries. Instead, Gu Yang's missed attack offered Xia Yuan a good opportunity. You're dueling with me, but you still have time to care about the baptismal pool. You really don't know death is approaching. Xia Yuan's chilling voice sounded in Gu Yang's ears. He heard a howling wind. Axe Shadow was already in front of him. Crap! Gu Yang's expression changed drastically. Even though he was a silver-armored ancient god, he knew he would die if this powerful axe landed on his head. The axe soared towards him so fast that the moment he shot the second arrow, the axe shadow was already before him, leaving him no chance to escape. Am I really going to die? Gu Yang was seized by despair. But just at this moment, whoosh! A jet of dazzling sword light suddenly appeared. It was extremely vast and menacing, just like a sword river. It zoomed in front of Gu Yang and blocked the giant axe that was roaring toward him. Bang! With a loud clash, the sword river was shattered to pieces. But in this split second, Gu Yang retreated to the other side and dodged the deadly strike. What a narrow escape! Gu Yang widened his eyes. He felt half surprised, half grateful. He saw a black-robed figure with a wicked silver mask appear next to him. Although he could not see the man's face, based on the one-star aura he was emitting, he quickly realized who it was. Thank you, Gu Yang said curtly. 100 years ago you saved me. Today I saved yours, so I've returned your favor, Jian Wushuang said with a smile. Yeah, Gu Yang nodded slightly. Jian Wushuang had been wandering about in this area for a while, and was not too far away when he heard the emergency signal. He had rushed here only to see Gu Yang in great danger. Naturally, he struck without delay. Chapter 759 Jian Wushuang? Chapter 759 Jian Wushuang. How lucky I am. I found An Chao and another 3 boundless demon sect experts. And just as I'm about to leave the Eternal Zone, it even saved me from thinking of how to return Gu Yang's favor. Jian Wushuang smiled. He did not like to owe others. Gu Yang had saved his life, so he wanted to do him a good return. And Chao. Killing intent flashed in his eyes, the only uncovered part of his body, as he cursed the name in secret. In order to kill An Chao, I have to kill Xia Yuan first. Jian Wushuang made up his mind. The bloodline power started surging inside his body. In an instant, he had transformed into a 10-meter-high gold-armored ancient god. His emperor sword also expanded to 10 meters long. He dove forward. His aura was rising ferociously, higher and higher. A gold-armored demon god. Xia Yuan was startled to see the ancient god. No wonder he could withstand my blow. He is a 1-star gold-armored demon god. However, he is not enough to threaten me. He sneered and charged toward Jian Wushuang, his giant axe in hand. The two neared each other. Mind-controlling secret skill. Jian Wushuang growled and punched at Xia Yuan. He was immediately enveloped by a strange power. Xia Yuan felt his mind struck by a sudden pain. He paused his move. A moment later he managed to recover from the pain. He regained his senses before Jian Wushuang could destroy him. Jian Wushuang sighed in disappointment. My realm is too low. I can't overpower an expert in Step 3 of the Eternal Realm with mind-controlling secret skill yet. His skill didn't affect Xia Yuan at all except for slowing down him a little. Fine. I never expected that I could defeat him relying on this skill. He displayed his best skill, Netherworld. Xia Yuan struck out with his axe. It then became a battle of pure power. Puff! Xia Yuan coughed out a mouthful blood, and his axe almost slipped out his hand. He is in Step 4. Xia Yuan's eyes betrayed his horror. He wanted to retreat. However, Jian Wushuang did not let him leave. He came up to Xia Yuan again and launched a series of attacks. Soon Xia Yuan was overwhelmed by sword shadows. Jian Wushuang went all out. Damn! Those damn moves! Xia Yuan cursed as he hurriedly tried to defend himself. He felt he was going to lose. Sometime later he finally got his golden chance to escape. He quickly displayed a secret skill. However, he had only made it 100 meters when he heard a whooshing sound from one side. He turned his head only to see a black arrow flying toward him at an amazing speed. If he kept running forward, it would hit him. He had to stop. The arrow flew past him. But before he could let out a sigh of relief, Jian Wushuang had caught up with him from behind and displayed twilight. No! Xia Yuan let out a roar of despair before Jian Wushuang's sword went through his body, breaking his life core. After killing Xia Yuan, Jian Wushuang looked toward Gu Yang and gave him a thumbs up. The latter put down his long bow and looked back with a nod. The arrow had contributed to Xia Yuan's death to some extent. It was true that Jian Wushuang was more powerful than Xia Yuan, however, Xia Yuan was faster than him. If it were not for the arrow blocking him temporarily, Jian Wushuang could not have caught up with him and killed him. The other 3 boundless demon sect experts were panic-stricken by Xia Yuan's death. Run! Run as fast as you can! They started running in different directions. And Chao had kept a close eye on the battle between Jian Wushuang and Xia Yuan, thus, he was the first one to sense the danger and react. He assumed the ancient god would chase after the other 2 experts, because it would be easier than catching him. However, to his surprise, he saw the ancient god coming after him. Among the 4 boundless demon sect experts, and Chao is first place on my kill list, Jian Wushuang's killing intent was booming. He had to kill this murderer to avenge Gu Qiong. Swish! Swish! Both Jian Wushuang and Chao ran very fast and soon they were lost from sight. How could he be so fast? Looking back at Jian Wushuang, who was drawing nearer and nearer, Chao turned pale. Why did he only target me? Though he was puzzled, he pulled his attention back to his feet. He displayed all his skills to speed up and became visibly faster. Jian Wushuang found he was further and further behind despite running at his full speed. He was becoming anxious. He knew if he did not display a secret skill to become quicker, he would lose his target. This guy responded so fast. He took off the moment he saw me kill Xia Yuan, leaving me no chance to display the mind-controlling secret skill. Jian Wushuang thought with a frown. The skill was powerful, but it could only produce a magical effect on its target within a certain distance. And Chao had escaped far from Jian Wushuang right away. He could not attack him with it. It seems that I have to use another skill. Jian Wushuang narrowed his eyes. He began shrinking back into a normal human being. With his will, his spiritual power began burning inside him. He was displaying the Dragon Blood secret skill. It was a skill that could increase one's speed by consuming his spiritual power. The cost of using such a skill was so great that Jian Wushuang would use it only in an emergency. 100 years ago, when he was being pursued by Chao, he had used this skill and managed to escape into the inner lair where he was finally saved by Gu Yang. Now the tables had turned. He was pursuing Chao. "You can't escape from me!" Jian Wushuang shouted. His voice echoed throughout the place. With the Dragon Blood secret skill, he could run 10 times faster than before, faster than Chao. It appeared he would catch up with Chao soon. Oh no! This can't be real! Chao was struck by horror as he sensed Jian Wushuang's aura near him. He could not help looking back and was shocked to see Jian Wushuang in human form. It's... He stared at the man running after him with wide eyes. Even though the man had his face covered behind a mask, he was very familiar with this man. He recognized his secret skill, the long sword on his back, and even the way he moved. They were exactly the same as the man he'd met 100 years ago. The only difference was that now he was the one being hunted. It's you. It should be you. Chao murmured. If Jian Wushuang hadn't transformed into a gold-armored ancient god before, Chao would have recognized him much earlier. Jian Wushuang. I know you're Jian Wushuang. Chao shouted back at the man running after him. There was horror and disbelief in his voice, and his words echoed throughout the void for a long time. Jian Wushuang heard him and smirked. So you finally recognize me. You have to die all the same. Jian Wushuang sped up again. Neither one noticed that there was a gray-haired elder hidden in the forest they'd just passed. He was waiting there for his injuries to recover. However, the elder had spotted them and was amazed. Is that Jian Wushuang, the peerless genius of the ancient sect? Didn't he die 100 years ago? You're tuning in to the Li Mei's Wuxia Whispers YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.